Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a show on Harvey Elliott this evening, live. It's 10 o'clock on Friday night. We haven't done a live for 8 days, so I thought I'd jump on, find a topic, which of course, as I've just said, is Harvey Elliott, have a chat with those that join me live on YouTube and answer any questions about Harvey Elliott or anything else at the end and just give my thoughts on the current situation, because what on earth is happening with Harvey Elliott? I think it's one of the main stories of Villa's season so far. This show is sponsored by Luke Roper. If you head to Luke Roper, you can get 20% off everything they have to offer at luke1977.com by using the code TVV20, historic code there, reminiscing about the good times with Tom Julian. If you use that code TVV20, you'll get off everything that Luke have to offer. Can see people coming into the stream now, so good evening to everyone that's joining me live. I thought I'd try the 10 o'clock slot, see who was about. Found myself watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire this evening before I came on and enjoyed it very much. I haven't watched that show for years, and so yeah, thought I'd come in and be the offering after Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So if you are live with me now on the chat, do drop some questions in as we speak and react to what I'm saying, and I will do my best to have a dialogue with you through the show. So good evening to Andy Hiley, Victor Ramsey. Who else have we got? James, Jonathan Salesman, A Dad's Diary, the Bladinator, who's just always here, and Joe Walsh, who's just come on as well. Right then, hello. Good evening. The topic that I wanted to talk about this evening is Harvey Elliott. Now, most of you, or some of you, will have read that Jacob and Greg Evans put a piece together on The Athletic yesterday that came out. I read it. I'm sure many of you have as well. I'm sure many of you, like myself, have formulated your own opinions on Harvey Elliott. It was decent to see kind of how the land lies with Harvey at the moment. Obviously, Greg and Jacob have both got Villa insight and connections at Villa, and Greg now works the Liverpool beat, so he's got connections with Liverpool as well. So it was good to see how the land kind of lies from both sides. I think the main takeaway that I had from the article, and it's one that's been speculated about quite a lot, is that there's currently no kind of exit clause in the deal. So it appears at the moment the loan cannot be terminated. So if Liverpool have got any complaints with how Villa are handling things, or Villa want to send him back, there isn't kind of a break clause in there in January at the moment. I'm sure maybe both parties, but certainly Liverpool would have expected Harvey to have hit the 10-game kind of cut off that meant that the move got made permanent. Villa have said, according to The Athletic, that the fee is around 30 million. Liverpool's end are saying it's closer to 35, but I think probably both parties, maybe Emery aside, may have thought that by now Harvey Elliott would have hit that 10-game mark and that move would get made permanent. The obligation would kick in and Harvey Elliott would permanently be a Villa player. As it is, he's played 5 games, I think it is, at the moment, so that hasn't kicked in. So at the moment, he's still a Liverpool player on loan at Aston Villa until the end of the season. One of the other main things from the article, which again, if you know the rules, you will know this already. I'm teaching you how to suck eggs. He's already played for 2 clubs this season, so he can't play for anyone else. So Liverpool wanted to call him back and potentially offer him to someone else, let's say Crystal Palace in January, if they wanted to do that, and then kind of use him as a make weight. That isn't something that they can do because Harvey Elliott has played for 2 clubs this season already, so he's not going to be able to play for another one. That's the rules. They're the rules that are in place. Kind of from speaking to Jacob a lot and speaking to a few other people as well, the line has always been that, Emery's happy with Harvey Elliott, happy with how he's training. There's just an adaptation process that's going on at the moment. And in the article, I'll read it out verbatim, what it actually says in the article. It says, he has impressed staff at the club with his attitude and application and didn't take offence to Emery's tough love at first. However, he has become increasingly disappointed over the past month as sitting on the sidelines wasn't what he expected or what he was told lay ahead when he signed. So I think initially, all players that come in maybe expect that adaptation period. Sancho's had it to an extent, although he's obviously got on the field more in the kind of last month or so than Harvey Elliott has. But in the attacking positions, even if you think back to when Morgan Rogers came, he had to be used sooner because there was injuries. At the time Harvey Elliott's come in, there's no real injuries in the attacking positions to speak of. Maybe players have missed the odd game. Sancho obviously had that illness. And Barkley was missing for a bit if you were to include him as an attacking player. Buendia had an injury recently that was short term, but by and large, people have been fit and been available to be picked. I guess the other problem is, and this wasn't a problem that Morgan Rogers would have had when he came in, is that it feels in the main at the moment that the three off Watkins are pretty established, that it's going to be Emi Buendia, who's performed fantastically. It's going to be Morgan Rogers, and it's going to be John McGinn most games. Aside from those three, Sancho seems to be a preferred option off the bench. And if one of the three that I've just mentioned doesn't start, it seems to be Evan Gasson that is preferred, and he's seen as the option that can play high and wide on the right at the moment. I'm personally not convinced by Gasson, as you'll know, and I'm certainly not convinced that he's a winger. I think he's another kind of inverted 10, inside 10, and we've got many of those without having any natural wingers at the football club. But they're all ahead of Elliott at the moment. So there's 5 players there that are ahead of Harvey Elliott. You then, as it said in The Athletic, got players like Barkley and Tielemans who can play in the number 10 position as well. So they're always, when they're not in the team, they're going to be on the bench ahead of Harvey Elliott at the moment, who hasn't even been getting on the bench. So it causes a problem. Then the likes of Bogard, Lindelof can cover multiple positions. So again, they're always good. They're always going to be Pete Marlin's kind of the same as well. He can play in the three off Watkins, but can also cover Watkins. So all those players feel a little bit more versatile than Harvey Elliott feels at the moment. Emery has said previously, I think there's quotes around seeing him as a number 10. Now, guess the unknown for us is, does he mean a central 10? That's where he's going to play, because McGinn's playing on the right at the moment, but it's fair to say he's not playing as a high and wide winger. McGinn's not holding the width on that side. Cash is the one who's allowed to come forward a bit more nowadays and is allowed to hold the width. And you've seen that reflected with some of the goals that Matty Cash has scored as well. He's been able to get further forward. When he says Elliott's a 10, does he mean centrally 10, or does he mean, like McGinn, well, actually, we could play him on the right as a 10? But obviously, in bygone years for Villa under Emery, the right-sided player has stereotypically held the width down that side. The width on the other side comes from the left back, and the left-sided attacker is a number 10 essentially. And Elliott, being left-footed, probably isn't going to play there. There's been no discussions about cutting this deal short as well. I should say the Athletic said that as well. There's a lot of rumours, a lot of speculation swirling around at the moment that, speaking to Jacob as well, who said this on the podcast, Elliott wasn't Emery's first choice. Elliott felt like the club had been looking at him for a few years, according to the Athletic. It was a deal that Monchi, before he departed, over the line. I might be wrong here, but just giving my opinion, reading between the lines, and again, speaking to people, it feels like it was almost, well, you can't have Paquetá, but we can get you Harvey Elliott. Essentially, at this stage, on the last day or two of the window, it's Harvey Elliott or nothing. And Emery accepted that and said, I'm happy to have Harvey Elliott. And he came in. I've seen a lot of people saying that Emery doesn't want Harvey Elliott to hit the 10 game. I can't think of the word, like the 10, basically hit the 10 games. That means that it activates the permanent move. I'm not buying that. I think this is purely a footballing decision by Emery at the moment. I think personally that it's strange. This was a signing that I was very excited about. It was a signing at the time when the transfer window shut. I felt saved the transfer window. We've seen Harvey Elliott be a big part of Liverpool, and we've seen him be a big part of the England under-21s in the summer. This is a very good footballer, a creative footballer, a footballer with a lot of top-level attributes. Does he fit stereotypically what Emery wants? Probably not. But then if you look at Emi Buendia, does he? Probably not. But what he's doing at the moment is exceptional, and he can actually serve as a lesson to Harvey Elliott as well with what he's done and the way he's come into the team. But people who are saying that Emery doesn't want Harvey Elliott to hit 10, well, he's halfway there already. He could feasibly hit this before January. I do believe that it's tactical for the reasons that I said earlier, in terms of the players that can cover multiple positions, being the ones that take the place on the bench. Emery just sees them as being further ahead in doing what he wants. And we know how much credence Emery will put on players doing what he wants. That's actually one of the reasons why Emi Buendia has got into the team and has obviously stayed there and played well. Despite me saying stereotypically he's probably not, in terms of physique, he's probably not an Emery player, but he's done everything he can to get in that team. So I think all is not lost for Elliott. But I don't think Emery's one to cut off his nose to spite his face. If he thought Elliott was the best option for the team at the moment, or an option for the team, someone who could come in and play games and actually impact things for Villa, I think he'd be playing him. He'd be in the 20-man squad. It would be someone else, like Sancho, for example, that missed out. For whatever reason, when we don't see what goes on a day-to-day basis, he doesn't think that Elliott is ready right now. But I don't think that means that he might think that same thing in a month. In a month's time, there could have been injuries. Injuries could have taken place. Suspensions. We're about to hit, after this international break, bloody international break, we're going to hit a busy period where we have lots of games. We have Thursday night football. I must say, I don't know the intricacies of the loan as to whether it's like 10 games or just 10 league games. I'm not sure of that. I'll ask Jacob and get that clarified. I probably should have asked him last time that we did a show together and spoke about Elliott, but I'm not sure of the intricacies of it, if I'm honest, at the moment. But I would say leading up to Christmas and before the transfer window opens in January, Harvey Elliott's going to get football. You're going to see him on the pitch. Like I say, things change. Emi Buendia is a prime example because even on the last day of the transfer window, Jacobs informed us that Villa were open to selling him. He just didn't want to go. He's then worked his way into the team. I believe that can definitely happen with Harvey Elliott. I also think he's a very creative player. And you think back to who was except for Asensio, who kind of got straight in, and he was alone. Him and Rashford were just bang, straight in, ready. He felt they were Premier League ready. Rodgers, as I said earlier, I don't think he was Premier League ready when he first started games for us, but it was almost a necessity at that time. Yuri Tillemans had played in the Premier League, but Emery at the start of his time at Villa, it probably took until November, December for Tillemans to kind of get a start and get into the team, particularly in the league. He didn't start a league game up until December, if my memory serves me correctly. A creative player, of course, Yuri Tillemans, but he hadn't adapted to what Emery wanted. I think there's similarities there, and I keep coming back to, if I'm being completely honest, again, this is my opinion, and I've got this opinion from speaking to various people. Emery's not going to not play Elliott because of this 10-game clause, because we've seen previously, I don't think Emery has kind of much regard for the financial side in the nicest possible way. If he thinks Elliott's good enough, he will play him. He will put him in. He won't be conscious of the 10-game thing means that Villa sign him permanently. I don't think that's Emery's MO at all. Jacob, again, has said previously that when Villa make loan signings, they made the loan signings that they did in January, that kind of took us over budget. Emery almost wasn't concerned by that. He just wanted the players, and by and large, the club will try and give Emery what he wants. I've heard from pretty reliable places that Disasi, I think he cost £8 million all in when we signed him on loan in January last year. And if you look at the actual games that he played, was it worth that? Probably not. But again, Emery's concern isn't the finances. And I know he's frustrated by the constraints he has to work under, but I don't think he'd not play Harvey Elliott because of the 30 million or the 35 million, whichever price you believe, kicking in. I just don't think that's a thing. So kind of 13 minutes of me talking about Harvey Elliott here. My main thing is that I think things can change. I'm surprised by it. And, the line that I just read out about him being really, really disappointed over the last month. Of course he is. Don't blame me for that. I would be very frustrated if I was Harvey Elliott, and I would also look at it and say, I've not had a fair crack at the whip here. There's other players that have come in the summer and they have had chances. Sancho, to an extent, has had chances. Gasson, who I don't think is as Premier League ready as Harvey Elliott, albeit a different type of player, he has had a lot of chances. So I think Elliott is well within his rights, and I feel for him myself, but I think Elliott's well within his rights to feel hard done by here. But I do think he's just going to have to continue to knuckle down and look at examples of players that have come before him at Aston Villa under Unai Emery. And there's probably other examples at other clubs that Emery's managed as well. And he's going to have to just bide his time and just hope that something changes. Like I've said, Villa aren't just going to have a fully fit front line for the next month or so. It's not going to happen. Injuries and suspensions and the like. Things will happen, loss of form, that mean at some point a chance will open up to Harvey Elliott, even if he's just coming on the pitch for 15 minutes. He's got to kind of take his lead off Marlon at the moment, who again I think has not really been given a fair crack at the whip since he's been at the club. But he's taken everything on the chin that's happened, and he's knuckling down and continuing to fight and continuing to give his best every time he comes on the pitch. Now, Harvey Elliott could point to the fact, well, at least Daniel Marlon gets on the pitch. I'm sitting in the stands at the moment on match days when everyone's fit. But at some point, that will change, and when he gets that chance, he's got to grasp it. But he's a fantastic player. I really, really want to see him given a chance at Villa. I trust Emery. Like I said, I don't think there's kind of any hidden agenda here at all. I just think Emery's playing it the way he sees it at the moment. But as I say, Elliott's well within his rights to feel the way that it says in the Athletic that he does feel. But things can change. I hope that they do for his sake. And as I say, Villa have got a very good footballer on their hands there. I think when he played at the start of the season as well, we weren't firing. We weren't the team that we are now. We hadn't clicked. We were pretty porous in front of goal as well at the start of the season. So he was given his chance at a time when we were just struggling in general. I'd like to see him put into this team or come into this team that's playing well, the team that absolutely dismantled Bournemouth last week. I want to see Harvey Elliott in a team that's thriving. I think when we do, we'll see what a good player he is. Time's on his side. He's 2-3 months into a season-long loan. Doesn't sound like that loan's going anywhere. So he's got a whole season to make his mark. And if he makes his mark, he'll be an Aston Villa player because he'll have played 10 games. And I think we'll all be happy. I still think, Villa fans want to see him. I think it is a bit of a mystery, and I've just kind of tried to look at it from all sides there with my spiel. But I think by and large, it is a bit of a mystery how we've not seen more of him. But I hope to see more of him very, very soon. Let's see what we have in the chat then. We've got Jonathan Salesman who says, get rid, not worth 35 million. We can use that money elsewhere. Liverpool have been lucky selling fringe players with big bucks. This would remind me of a Stephen Ireland signing, and this didn't work out. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough to have your opinion, Jonathan. I would say he has just come off the back of being the best player in a summer tournament at under 21s level. Ireland had some off seasons, or had an off season, from what I remember when we pulled him in from Man City. So I don't see the comparison myself. The use of money, you could look at it and say, well, in an ideal world, would Emery send him back, and Villa can use that money that's been earmarked to get an actual wide player in, for example, in January, or a forward, because they've only got one forward at the moment. Although I'm not sure they do that. I think if Emery could pick one type of player to get in at the moment, I think it would probably still be a wide player, even though Watkins is off form. But from what the Athletic are saying, that's not possible. That's not something that's going to happen unless Liverpool and Villa have discussions and decide it's the best thing. It's not going to happen. Liverpool will be sitting there thinking, well, we want you to hit 10 games and we get 35 million. I'm sure that's what they're thinking. But I don't get the Ireland comparisons, to be honest. I don't think it's a similar situation. Joe Walsh says, hi Dan, how are you doing? Do you think it was a bad choice as getting Elliott? Ultimately, nothing happens without Emery sign off. We all know that's how the club works. I've said it was a kind of Monchi deal. Monchi was the one pulling plan. The club had looked at him for a couple of years, as Jacob and Greg said in the article. I don't think he was a bad choice. I think he's been a victim of circumstance a little bit. I think a few things have happened that maybe weren't expected at the club level. I don't think anyone could have foresaw what was going to happen with Emi Buendia. And even though they're not competing for the same role, I'd be highly dubious that you would ever see an Aston Villa 11 that contained both Harvey Elliott and Emi Buendia. That would surprise me. They play different positions, as I say, but I don't think you'd see two kind of small players playing at the same time in the three after striker. We've seen the Premier League generally is moving more towards physicality, and I think Villa have tried to go down that route as well. Rachel Insall Lewis rightly says, I don't think he can play again for a Premier League club. If he's recalled, he would need to go. But he can't play for anyone. Just to clarify, even if he went to Atletico Madrid tomorrow, well, he wouldn't be able to do that anyway because the window's not open. If he went to Atletico Madrid in January, he wouldn't be able to play for them because he's played for two clubs already. Good to see some of the usual faces, the same old faces in the 1874 stream. Hello, David Styles. Good to see you in the stream as always. View Sonic 61 says, Dan, is Elliott's quandary because of squad cost rules? No, because the club signed this off full anticipation that he would hit 10 games and become a 35 or 30 million pound player at the football club. It's a purely Emery football based decision at the moment. There's nothing else at play here. Yes, it's a bit bizarre. Yes, it feels like something fishy is going on, but fundamentally the club had to have that 35 million. I don't know. Again, not knowing the ins and outs of the deal, as you would expect me not to know. But once that gets triggered, Liverpool wouldn't just get 35 million pounds straight away. It would be staggered. I'd imagine a portion of that would come out of the budget for this season, which will then affect us with PSR and SCR moving forward. I will say, actually, just on the topic of PSR and SCR, which we all love talking about greatly, I did the Guardian Football Weekly this morning, and there was a section with Kieran Maguire who spoke very well and very interestingly about some stuff that's at play with PSR at the moment and kind of Premier League summits to review the rules. So I suggest if you're interested in that kind of thing, I don't contribute to that section at all because I'm not an ex-football finance expert, but it's well worth listening to what Kieran said. Hello, Chad, Villa Forever podcast. Make sure you check out Chad's interview with Laura Wood, by the way, that he did last week on his channel. That was a massive coup for the channel, getting Laura Woods on, and what a lovely person she is as well. So do go and check out Chad's podcast. You should check it out anyway, but definitely check out his interview with Laura Wood. She does seem to have a bit of an affinity for Villa as well, so that was nice to hear. James 9930 says that they're in the back. That makes no sense what I've just said at all. That Townsend shirt is top tier, Dan. I've got an Andy Townsend shirt in the background, a green Muller one behind me today for those listening via audio. Also got a Europa League Marlon Harewood shirt. Does it get much better than that? I don't think it does. I think that will be 0809 Acorn's home shirt. So yeah, Marlon Harewood shirts. Andy Townsend, absolute legend of the game, but Marlon Harewood, does it get better than that? I don't think it does. Joe Walsh makes the valid point, and I've tried to say this, with our current form, who do you replace him with? You can't take anyone out at the moment. Like I said, I feel like that 3 off Watkins is pretty set in stone at the moment, with Gesson and Sancho kind of facilitating from the bench. By and large, obviously we'll rotate in certain games in Europe, etc., but that feels the 3, doesn't it? Very much off Watkins at the moment. Do let me know what your ideal front 3 would be in the chat if you fancy it, and I'll have a look at some front 4s. I'll have a look at some front 4s, the 3 that play off Ollie Watkins. Ben Redding says, scale of 1 to 10, how boring is this international break? Yeah, it's not brilliant, is it? I did enjoy the England game last night. I had to watch it because obviously I was doing the Guardian, so I needed to watch England anyway. But I do quite like what Tuchel's doing at the moment, but I will say as well that I'm very glad that there's no international break until March. Tom Long's asking, can he go abroad, though? I'm 99.9% sure what I've said is true about not being able to play for 2 or more clubs anywhere. I'm pretty confident that that's true. Johnny Lou is asking about the financial PSR element. Again, to my understanding and knowledge, it's nothing to do with that at all. David Starr says, I feel the comparison to Yuri's first few months is the main thing I take comfort in. Emery demands players to get the system before getting into the circle of trust. Yep, I think that's very fair. Flange was taking a leaf out of my book, Flange 0027, and was watching Gogglebox. I don't usually watch live TV, so I don't know how I stumbled across Who Wants to Be a Millionaire this morning. I just watched stuff on record, or to be honest, I'm watching football all the time. But yeah, you can watch other things, but to come on and join me live at 10 o'clock, I don't think, again, like the Marlon Harewood shirt, I don't think it gets much better than that. I wish I could. I don't know why I'm not doing more lives. I think I get scared of the internet connection sometimes, and I get worried when the kids are here and they're hammering the iPads and the PlayStations and whatnot, that it's going to affect my streams. I think that puts me off doing lives a little bit, but I will try and do at least one a week. I should be doing more lives than what I'm doing. Chad very active tonight on the chat, says he should be using the Europa League. I think that would have been the kicker for Harvey Elliott, in all honesty, when he was the last Europa League game against Maccabi, when he's seeing us make 5 subs. I think it was 5 in that game that we made, wasn't it? 5 subs in that game, and he's not even getting a sniff. And I think he had 4 minutes in the Europa League game before. They're the things that are going to frustrate him, because that's when we are rotating. That's when we are trying different things and giving people a chance. He must be sat there thinking, oh, if I'm not getting a chance now, when am I ever going to get a chance? And I think that would be a fair enough opinion. Let's carry on down there. See what a lot of people talking in the chat tonight. Absolutely great to see. That's a good question. Aurelius says, do you think getting Elliott and not Asensio or Paquetá got Monchi sacked? I think the Monchi departure had been on the cards for a while. He didn't get sacked. Technically, Monchi, it was kind of a mutual agreement to leave, and he's still involved to some respect with the club at the moment, although I think that feels a bit like a Langer thing. I think he won't be involved this time next year, but I don't think it would have been that would have gotten the sack. It was the finances that dictated what we could and couldn't do, and Villa couldn't go and drop between 40 and 50 million on Paquetá. Paquetá's also and Asensio both on huge wages compared to Harvey Elliott. My understanding is that Harvey Elliott was on about 60 grand a week, I think I got told, at Liverpool, which in the modern day isn't much money at all, although I'd take that 60 grand a week for sure. You know, when we've got him on loan, we won't be paying him any more than that. We'd be paying the full 60k a week. I'm imagining, and he fits within our wage structure when it gets activated, and he comes over permanently. Paquetá and Asensio, you're talking different level of wages. You know, if we're talking about PSR and SCR, those two things are pretty irresponsible to have done. If you're asking me now, I mean, I liked Asensio a lot when he was here, and I do think we miss him and Rashford. Well, I especially thought it at the start of the season. I think we actually miss Rashford more than we miss Asensio. I liked his pure injection of pace and power, and I think we do miss a bit of pace in the side still. But if you're asking me who I'd rather have for a multitude of reasons, I'd rather have Harvey Elliott over both of those two. Set Ustane says, I think Harvey will get another go. He's going to at some point, as I've said. He's going to get another go, and he's back. Sestustane, that I'm saying his name terribly, is predicting that Harvey Elliott becomes a success. Just trying to scroll. This scroll is not working. Feel free to ask anything else if you like as well. By the way, don't have to just ask me about Harvey Elliott, but I did want Harvey to be the main topic of this show. David Stiles says, slight subject change. Recommend that people watch the ESPN interview with Matty Cash that came out a couple of days ago. Really interesting hearing how he and the team dealt with the early season noise. I'll check that out. And his sister is doing very well at CBS at the moment, anchoring and contributing to that channel. I'm imagining she interviewed him. I could be wrong. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but I'll be sure to check that out. And well done to Hannah Cash, who's absolutely thriving in America. What else have we got here? Just scrolling my way down. Johnny Lou says, Harvey will be sitting in the Trinity with Max and Tiff enjoying the hospitality the way he's going. I caught it with Max a couple of days ago, saw him, and I still haven't watched that video. I've got to go and watch the video of those two taking on corporate hospitality. Sounds like they had a great time. Sounds like some enjoyed it a little bit more than they should have done, Tiffany. But yeah, I'm going to watch that video. And if you haven't watched Max and Tiff going Villa on tour, of course, going to check out the corporate hospitality at Villa. They filmed it all, vlogged the day. Go and watch that. I'm going to watch it as well because I'm sure it'll be a good video, as Max's videos always are. Max is the best content creator in the Villa stratosphere. Like I think he's absolutely incredible. What else have we got here? James Wood says, was a treat watching Rashford at Villa Park. A lot better player than I gave him credit. Yeah, he was brilliant, Rashford. I really do think his pace and power was something that's kind of underrated and low key missing from Villa's game, particularly at the start of the season. I watched him play for England again last night. Probably didn't have his best game, but the guy was playing for Barcelona. You know, he's a frightening player. Not many English players have gone to play for Barcelona, so you know, fantastic for him. Well done to him, and you know, he had that brilliant game against Newcastle earlier on in the season. I wish we could have signed him permanently, but it was just never going to happen. Let's finish with a personal question then from my dad's diary. He says, when's the baby due, Dan? January. And if you could see behind me, underneath the Marlon Harewood and Andy Townsend shirts, you would see that my office, and I'm actually moving out of this office as well because it needs to become a baby bedroom, is just full of baby paraphernalia. There's a lot of stuff on the floor, and that you can't see here. Like, incredible how much stuff you need when you're having a baby. But to answer the question, baby girl is due in January the 29th. Is the due date. Around the time Villa are playing Brentford, I might have to miss a game when baby comes in, but we'll play that by ear and see how things unfold. Right then, I am going to go. Thank you ever so much to those that have joined me live. I wanted to do half an hour, and I've done half an hour, so thank you very much those that have joined me in the YouTube chat for facilitating me this evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show, and hopefully everyone who will go on to watch and listen as well has enjoyed the show. Don't forget to check out the Luke Roper discount, TVV20, and get yourself some Luke Roper gear. If you are watching via YouTube, if you could subscribe with your post notifications on, give the video a like, and leave a comment as well with your thoughts on Harvey Elliott and the stuff that we've spoken about this evening. Apple and Spotify, 5-star reviews, please, would be great. Comments are nice on Spotify as well, and if you give us 5 stars on there, that would be great. But Apple Podcast reviews, they're the ones that we want. We'd love some Apple Podcast reviews. If you can do that, it would be really, really appreciated. There's going to be more content. Of course, it's the International break. I've still got a Morgan Rogers video or podcast to come next week. That's coming with the guys from Scouted are looking to him positionally and what's his best position. So that will definitely be an interesting podcast with Jake Entwistle from Scouted, who's been on the channel before. He's a great guy and he's agreed to come on next week. So we'll be doing that. Trying to get the wife to do another quiz. I'm in negotiations with her at the moment. She drives a hard bargain, but I'm sure that eventually she'll cave, and we'll do that second round of the Villa quiz to see how much she knows about Aston Villa Football Club. Also in discussions with an old Villa View face as well, Thomas Julian. I think we're going to have a catch up with him at some point, see how he's getting on in Germany, and talk a little bit of Villa as well and a little bit of Bundesliga. So those that used to watch Tom and I in the old booth, look forward to that. We'll get Tom on very soon as well, hopefully. And that's it. Yeah, nothing else to really plug. So thank you very much. Don't forget to watch The Guardian or listen to the Guardian Football Weekly to listen to that PSR stuff. It is really, really interesting. Thank you very much again for joining me live this evening. Take care of yourselves. And as always, up the Villa.